Hello and welcome everyone to Storytime with the Met. It is I, Miss K, here to read you another wonderful book, and I hope you'll join us every Thursday at noon where we read a book together, do a song or activity, and talk about how our book relates to our collections we have at the Met. So if you've been here before, you know we like to start with our Storytime song. Goes to the tune of This Old Man. We're gonna sing 3, 2, 1. Welcome friends, get ready, get set for story time with the Met, where we love to read and sing and look at works of art and picture books. We use our eyes to look and see. We use our ears to hear stories. Now we'll take a seat and give a shh. Let's begin now with our book. Okay, thank you everyone. Our book today is called Extra Yarn. And it's written by Mac Barnett, illustrated by John Klassen. Both great guys. I actually met them once, and I'm excited to read their book to you today. Here we go. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either the white of snow or the black soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. So she went home and knitted herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars. Mars is her dog. But there was still extra yarn. And when Annabelle and Mars went for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. But it turned out he was. And even after she'd made a sweater for Nate and his dog and for herself and for Mars, she still had extra yarn. Yes. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet, everyone. Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," Annabelle said, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turns out she could, and she did, even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. Whoa. There's some colors you see in these sweaters here. They're very pretty, aren't they? Yeah, I think I see some red, some purple, and they all came out of the same box. Crazy. So Annabelle knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton, and for Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louis. She made sweaters for everyone except Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "Mr. Crabtree, what are you doing?" "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat. And even then, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she made sweaters for all the dogs, and all the cats, and all the other animals too. Look at some of the animals she made sweaters for. Whoa. Some people thought soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. Oh my gosh. She made a sweater for a mailbox. That's great. Things began to change in that little town. News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn, and people came to visit from around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an archduke, who was very fond of clothes, sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. "Little girl," said the archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I am willing to offer you $1,000,000. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The archduke's mustache twitched. $2,000,000, he said. Annabelle shook her head. "No, thanks." $10,000,000, shouted the archduke. "Take it or leave it." "Leave it," said Annabelle. "I won't sell the yarn." And she didn't. So that night, the archduke hired 3 robbers. 1, 2, 3. Not sure why they all couldn't just use the same ladder, but it's fine. To break into Annabelle's house. And they stole the box and took it to the archduke, who set off across the snow and sailed over the sea. No good archduke. Back to his castle. The archduke put on his favorite song and sat in his best chair. Then he took out the box and he lifted its lid and looked inside. His mustache quivered. Oh my gosh. It shivered. It trembled. The archduke hurled the box out the window and shouted, "Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again." Think he's overreacting about that yarn? Maybe. Would you have gotten that angry? What would you do instead? Hurl the box out the window. So he cursed her to never be happy again. But there's the box that he hurled out the window, and it's drifting farther and farther away. And look who found it. It's Annabelle. It turned out she was. The end. That was extra yarn, and I'm glad that Archduke's curse didn't work and Annabelle was happy because she's such a good knitter. Look at that. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that story. Humans have been working with wool, which is used to make yarn, for a very long time. And at the museum, we have a terracotta box called a pyxis. It's from around 460 B.C.E., so thousands of years ago, from ancient Greece. And it shows on the box 6 women who are just sitting around and talking, but 2 of the women are working with wool, turning it into yarn. And that's 2,460 years ago. A long time. And this is a black and red terracotta vase, and the figures are in red. You can see the women wearing their togas and their robes on a black background. And this is very common style in classical Greece called red figure painting. And so the 2 women, one of them is taking the wool in a big clump and twisting it into little strands of yarn. And the other woman is taking it and wrapping it into a skein, which is a type of yarn ball, looks like this. So what are some things you might like to make out of yarn? Would you like to learn to knit like Annabelle can? I never did learn to knit. You can also crochet with yarn, I think, but I did find an activity for us that uses yarn. We're going to be making woven yarn turtles. And this one's a little complicated, so I'm going to go slowly, but at the end of it, you'll have a cute yarn turtle, and who doesn't love that? So for this craft, you will need craft sticks, at least 3 of them, craft or popsicle sticks. You can use any size you like. You will need some glue, either the glue that comes in the bottle, a glue stick, or I have this crafter's tape type of glue. I lost my glue stick somewhere, but I'll worry about that later. And of course you will need yarn. I picked this yarn because I was inspired by Annabelle's multicolored yarn. So I wanted that kind. And then you can have some paint or markers and scissors. Aha, scissors. So once you have all that together, you're going to start taking your pieces of craft stick like this and glue them into an X. So put glue right here and glue them into an X. And if you have the glue stick, you have to let it sit, and then you're going to place another craft stick down the middle and glue that on there. So what you get should end up looking like this. You see I made the X, and then I put one right down in the middle. And once you have that, you're going to take your ball of yarn, find one end, and tie it through the middle, like this. And you want to leave a little tail. So don't tie it so that it's really close like that. You want to have a long piece hanging out after you tie it. Not crazy long, not too long, but long enough that it can at least go out past where the popsicle sticks are. And I'm going to tie it. It's hard to tie it while holding it up. Aha! So tie it like that, and then take the part that's still attached to the ball of yarn and start wrapping it around. And you want to wrap it around twice like that, and then pick another direction and wrap it around 2 or 3 more times like that, and then pick one more direction 2 or 3 more times like that. And so once you have it, you've got like a star inside your star, then it's time to start wrapping. So the way you're going to wrap, it's a lot of yarn. I don't know how Annabelle does it. You're going to take one side, and you just pick any side and wrap around one of the popsicle sticks. And then go to the next one. Get this out the way and wrap it around, just one at a time, and then go to the next one. Wrap it around. You want to kind of do it like you're turning a clock. And one of the things people like about knitting is they like doing other things, because once you get into it, you get into kind of a rhythm where you don't have to pay as close attention. Once you make sure you're doing it right, you see I'm starting to get lines like that from wrapping, and just keep turning and wrapping. Don't want to change direction, just keep turning and wrapping. And this will take time. You will have to be patient, but you'll start to see these lines stacking up, and on the other side you'll start to see a little weaving pattern in there. And then if you do that for long enough, you get something that looks like this. See? And I like my yarn is multicolored, so it has different stripe patterns on it, but you can use any type of yarn you like. And that's when you take your paint and your markers, and then you can draw little feet You can draw a little face on your turtle. You can even paint the arms and legs green if you want to. You can do that before you start wrapping if you want the whole turtle to be green. I didn't think of that in time when I started making these. And it's okay if it takes a little while to get it right. I'll show you. My first one didn't come out great, but I kept at it, and this one's a little bit better. And then I'll make another one, and that one will be a little bit better. And sometimes things just take practice. And then at the end, you have a bunch of yarn turtles. And who doesn't love that? All right, thank you all so much for listening to my story and watching my craft. I know this was a bit of a long one, so I appreciate you sticking with me the whole way. And we'll see you at the next story time with the Met. Bye, everyone.